Bloodline is falling apart right before our eyes, and WWE is doing absolutely nothing to stop it. Solo Sikoa just issued a challenge that proves he has no idea what made the Bloodline special in the first place. And then Tonga had this bizarre, cryptic interaction with Shinsuke Nakamura that has me questioning everything about where this faction is headed. I'm not even being dramatic when I say that what happened on SmackDown might be the beginning of the end for what was once the most dominant group in WWE history. And if you're not concerned about how badly creative is fumbling this storyline, then you haven't been paying attention to what Roman Reigns built over the last 3 years. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now because we need to talk about how WWE is destroying their own masterpiece. Let me set the stage for what went down on SmackDown because the context here matters more than you might think. Ever since Roman Reigns lost the undisputed WWE Championship and took time away from weekly television, Solo Sikoa has been positioned as the new leader of the Bloodline. Not the tribal chief because there's only one tribal chief, but the enforcer, the guy holding things together while Roman does whatever Roman does when he's not on our screens. And at first, this made sense. Solo's been loyal, he's been protected in his booking, he's got the look, he's got the presence. On paper, he should be able to carry the torch. But here's the problem: Solo Sikoa is not Roman Reigns. Nobody is Roman Reigns. And instead of playing to Solo's strengths and establishing his own identity within the Bloodline, WWE has been trying to make him a Roman clone, and it's painfully obvious that it's not working. Solo doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the promo ability. He doesn't have that intangible star quality that makes people unable to look away when Roman's on screen. And that's not a knock on Solo as a performer. He's good at what he does. But what he does and what Roman does are two completely different things. So on this particular episode of SmackDown, Solo comes out with Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, and the new additions to the Bloodline Tonga and Tangaloa from NJPW. Right away, you can feel something's off. The group doesn't have the same cohesion. They don't have the same aura. When Roman's Bloodline walked out, you felt power, you felt dominance, you felt like these guys could take over the entire company. When Solo's Bloodline walks out, it feels like a tribute band trying to recreate the magic of the original. It's not quite right, and everyone knows it. Solo gets on the microphone and he starts talking about how the Bloodline is still running WWE, how they're still the most dominant force, how nobody can touch them. Standard heel faction promo stuff. But then he issues his challenge, and this is where everything goes wrong. He challenges anyone in the back to come out and face him right now. Just a random, open challenge with no stakes, no specific target, no real reason behind it other than to show off. And I'm sitting there watching this thinking, why? What's the point? What does this accomplish? When Roman issued challenges, there was always a purpose. He was calling out someone specific who disrespected him or the Bloodline. He was defending a championship. He was proving a point about tribal succession. There was always a story behind it. Solo's challenge is just empty bravado. It's "I'm tough, come fight me," without any of the layers that made Bloodline challenges must-see television. And this might seem like a small thing, but it's actually a perfect microcosm of everything wrong with how WWE is handling the Bloodline post-Roman. So Solo's waiting in the ring for someone to answer the challenge. And of course someone does, because that's how wrestling works. LA Knight's music hits, and the crowd goes absolutely crazy because LA Knight is over like Rover right now. He's one of the most popular guys on the roster, he's got momentum, and a match between him and Solo could actually be really good if given the right amount of time and build. But here's the thing. This should have been built up over weeks. This should have been a grudge match with real animosity behind it. Instead, it's just happening because Solo said so. They have the match and it's fine. Both guys work hard, there's some decent back and forth action, and the crowd is into it because they love LA Knight. But then the finish comes, and it's exactly what you'd expect. The Bloodline interferes. LA Knight gets beaten down by multiple guys, and Solo picks up a tainted victory. Roll credits, move on to the next segment. And I'm watching this wondering what we're supposed to take away from it. Solo can't beat LA Knight on his own? The Bloodline. Here's a question for you guys, and I really want to know your thoughts. Do you think Solo Sikoa has what it takes to be the leader of the Bloodline? Because I'm not convinced. And again, this isn't about Solo being a bad wrestler or a bad performer. It's about whether he has the presence, the charisma, and the booking to fill the massive shoes that Roman left behind. Leave your answers in the comments because I'm curious if I'm alone in feeling like this isn't working. But wait, because the Solo situation isn't even the weirdest part of SmackDown. Later in the show, we get this backstage segment with Tonga, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell it was supposed to mean. Tama's walking through the back, looking intense and focused like he's on a mission, and he stops when he sees Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, for those who don't know, Tonga and Shinsuke Nakamura have history in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've been in the ring together, they've been in rival factions, there's real-world context to these two being in the same space. So when Tama stops and stares at Nakamura, you'd think this is going somewhere, right? You'd think they're about to have a confrontation, or cut a promo acknowledging their past, or set up a match, or literally anything that gives this moment meaning. But no, they just stare at each other for about 10 seconds. Nakamura gives this slight nod, Tama gives this little smirk, and then they both walk away in opposite directions. That's it. That's the whole segment. No words exchanged, no physicality, no indication of what this is building toward. Just two guys acknowledging each other's existence and moving on. And the commentary team tries to play it up like it's this huge moment. Michael Cole's saying something like, "Whoa, you can feel the tension there." And Corey Graves is adding, "These two have a complicated history, but tension toward what?" If you're a casual fan who's never watched New Japan, you have no idea why this matters. Let me explain why this is frustrating from a booking perspective. WWE brought in Tonga and Tanga Loa specifically because of their connection to Roman Reigns and their reputation as hard-hitting brawlers from New Japan. That's their selling point. That's why fans who know them were excited to see what they do in WWE. So when you have a built-in story with someone like Nakamura, someone who's actually on the roster and could use a meaningful feud right now, why wouldn't you capitalize on that immediately? Why wouldn't you have them cut a promo explaining their history? Why wouldn't you book a match between them to showcase what Tama can do? Instead, we get a staring contest that leads nowhere. And I'm worried this is going to be the pattern with Tama and Tanga Loa in WWE. They're going to be presented as mysterious and dangerous, but they're never going to be given the opportunity to actually show what makes them special. They're going to be muscle for Solo's version of the Bloodline, standing in the background while he cuts promos, interfering in matches, and not developing their own characters or storylines. And that would be a massive waste of their potential. Think about what made the original Bloodline so special. Every member had a role. Roman was the tribal chief, the final boss, the guy everything revolved around. Jimmy and Jey Uso were his enforcers, his family, his brothers who would do anything for him even when it hurt them personally. Solo was the silent destroyer who didn't need to talk because his actions spoke volumes. And Paul Heyman was the mouthpiece, the strategist, the special counsel who elevated everyone with his words. Everyone had purpose. Everyone had character. Everyone mattered. Now look at the current Bloodline. Solo's trying to be Roman but can't pull it off. Jimmy's there but seems lost without his brother Jey, who's off doing his own thing now. Tama and Tanga Loa are just kind of there. No character development, no clear motivation for why they joined Beyond. We're Samoan and this is the Samoan faction. And Paul Heyman is trying his best to make it all work, but even he can't polish this into something compelling. It's disjointed, it's confusing, and most importantly, it's not nearly as interesting as what came before. Here's another question for the comments. Do you think the Bloodline should have ended when Roman lost the championship? Or do you like the idea of it continuing with new leadership? Because I'm torn on this. Part of me thinks they should have just let the Bloodline story finish on a high note rather than trying to extend it. But another part of me thinks there's potential in exploring what happens when the empire crumbles, when the king is gone and everyone's fighting over the scraps. The problem is WWE isn't really exploring that in any meaningful way. Let's talk about what they should be doing with this storyline. If Solo's in charge now, there should be tension about whether he's worthy of that position. There should be doubt from the other members. There should be other wrestlers trying to take advantage of the Bloodline being weakened. There should be Roman looming in the background, either as a threat to come back and reclaim his throne, or as a disappointed father figure watching his creation fall apart. All of that would be compelling television. All of that would give us a reason to care. Instead, we're getting Solo doing random open challenges that don't build toward anything, and Tonga having cryptic stare-downs that don't pay off. It's all set up with no payoff, all questions with no answers. And the longer this goes on, the more the Bloodline's mystique evaporates. They're no longer the most feared faction in WWE. They're just another heel group that cheats to win and cuts forgettable promos. You want to know what the real problem is? WWE doesn't trust their audience to remember long-term storytelling anymore. They book week to week, segment to segment, with no real plan for where things are going. They think as long as they have something happening every week, fans will stay engaged. But that's not how it works. Fans want to feel like there's a destination, like all these moments are building toward something meaningful. The Bloodline worked for 3 years because it was clearly building toward Roman's eventual downfall. Every betrayal, every defense, every challenge mattered in the context of the larger story. What's the larger story now? What are we building toward with Solo's Bloodline? Is it Roman coming back to destroy Solo for disrespecting the family legacy? Is it the Bloodline fracturing completely with everyone going their separate ways? Is it a new challenger rising up to take them all down? We don't know, and I'm not sure WWE knows either. And that uncertainty is killing the momentum of what should still be the most important faction on SmackDown. Let's go back to that Nakamura moment, because the more I think about it, the more it bothers me. You know what WWE should have done? They should have had Tama cut a promo on Nakamura right there. Have him reference their New Japan history. Have him say something like, "I know what you're capable of, and I know you're wondering if I'm still that same guy who went to war with you in Japan. Let me answer that question for you. I'm better now, I'm more dangerous now, and if you get in the..." But we didn't get that. We got a stare. And in a week, nobody's going to remember it happened. It'll be one of those throwaway moments that wrestling fans look back on years later and say, "Remember when they teased Tama versus Nakamura and never did anything with it?" WWE's history is full of those moments, and it's frustrating every single time. What really gets me is that WWE has all the tools to make this work. They have talented performers. They have a built-in fan base that's invested in the Bloodline story. They have time on their television shows to actually develop these characters and feuds. What they don't have, apparently, is a coherent plan or the patience to let stories breathe and develop naturally. Everything has to happen immediately, and if it doesn't get a reaction right away, they move on to something else. That's not how you build lasting stars or memorable moments. Can I ask you guys something else? What do you think should happen with the Bloodline going forward? Should Roman come back and reclaim leadership? Should Solo prove himself as a worthy successor? Should the whole thing implode with everyone turning on each other? I'm genuinely interested in what you think would be the most satisfying direction for this story. So let me know in the comments. Here's what I would do if I were booking this. First, I'd have Solo struggle with being leader. Show him making mistakes, show the cracks forming. Have Jimmy question his decisions. Have Tama and Tanga be loyal but clearly more interested in violence than strategy. Build toward a breaking point where Solo realizes he can't do this the way Roman did, so he has to forge his own path. Maybe that means becoming even more brutal, or maybe it means admitting he needs Roman back. Either way, it's character development, it's growth, it's something other than treading water. Second, I'd pay off the Nakamura tease immediately. Next week, have Tama call out Nakamura for a match. Let them have a 15-minute banger that showcases both guys' abilities. Use it to establish Tama as a singles threat, not just a Bloodline lackey. Give Nakamura something meaningful to do for the first time in months. It's a win-win situation that requires minimal effort to set up. Third, I'd start planting seeds for Roman's return. Have Paul Heyman look worried whenever Solo makes a decision. Have him make mysterious phone calls that imply he's talking to Roman. Create the sense that Solo's time as leader is temporary, that the real tribal chief is watching, waiting, and judging. That creates anticipation and gives fans something to look forward to. But I don't think WWE's going to do any of that. I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing, aimless segments that don't build toward anything, matches with interference finishes, and cryptic moments that never pay off. And the Bloodline is going to keep getting less and less interesting until people just stop caring. And that would be tragic because this was once the best thing in all of wrestling. The Bloodline under Roman Reigns was must-see television. Every tribal chief match felt important. Every Bloodline segment had weight. Every betrayal and reunion hit emotionally because we were invested in these characters and their relationships. Now it just feels like going through the motions, hitting the same beats without understanding what made them work in the first place. Do you remember when JUSO was torn between loyalty to Roman and his own self-respect? Do you remember when Sami Zayn infiltrated the Bloodline and became an honorary SmackDown is not that. Do you remember when Kevin Owens and Sami finally stood up to Roman at WrestleMania? And unless WWE incredible stories and make some serious course corrections that earned emotional legendary faction is going to fade into created moments we'll remember Solo Sikoa issuing random challenges and Tama Tonga having meaningless stare-downs isn't going to cut it. We need real stories. We need real stakes. We need reasons to care. If you're as frustrated as I am with how WWE is handling the Bloodline, make your voice heard. Comment below. Share this video. Let WWE know that we remember what made the Bloodline great, and we're not satisfied with this watered-down version. These performers deserve better. This story deserves better. And we as fans who've been invested in this since day one deserve better than watching one of the best factions in wrestling history collapse because creative can't figure out where they're going. The Bloodline should still matter. Right now, I'm not sure it does.